Hi there and welcome to The Labyrinth today. If you're new to the channel, I'm Anah Parreli. I'm the creator of the channel. I'm also a qualified social worker to Australian standards, and I have to be clear, I'm not registered with my professional body at this point in time. I'm also an undergraduate for a Masters of Counselling, by the way. I didn't actually complete that degree because it required a practical component that I decided to forego. However, I'm also a teacher of energy, metaphysics, meditation, and psychic development, and I've been doing this for many years prior to my mainstream studies. Anyway, the purpose of the channel, of course, is to empower you through the provision of strategy and technique, but also, more importantly, to direct you to your own resources, because I truly believe in the saying that all the answers lie within us. And I want to make very clear that nothing I say here on this channel is categoric, and I encourage you always to do your own explorations and to seek professional support for your medical, mental health, financial, or other needs that might arise. The reason I revisited this, of course, is because we've got so many new subscribers over the last, week, and I just want to give a really big shout out and a thank you to all of you for clicking that subscribe button, because I really appreciate it. It helps me to get the content out there to more people. So also, the other thing too is I invite you to make comments, because comments are also very important with the YouTube algorithm to get us up there. And of course, the information I give, because I'm focused on empowering, the more people I can get it to in a quicker space of time, obviously, the better. And I think that's probably all I can say about that, beyond a great big whopping thank you very much. So last week I started this page for the Sunday yarning, and it's about chitter chatter, and I'm not sure where it's going to go over the long term, but at the moment I'm kind of finding my feet with the creation of the channel, because it's involved me learning more skills, if you like, around the use of technology and graphic art and all of this kind of thing, which, by the way, I'm having so much fun with. But anyway, I'm really relying on the analytics of the channel to show me the type of content that people are most interested in. And now that we've got more numbers, I can see definitely that people are interested in the angels. So I want to let you know the angel content is a fairly recent playlist. In fact, I started it this year, and the content is coming together and it is being loaded. But from the publishing perspective, it's a little slower than I would like to, because I'm sticking to the original plan in as far as the universal laws, of course, and there's 105 of them, and we're almost there. And because of me being a social worker, I feel morally obligated to ensure that I put up the mainstream content in regard to emotional and helpful thinking and that, before I focus on the spiritual. And this is because of YouTube's parameters of trying to adhere to the standards for the World Health Organization, and I just want to make sure that the channel is compliant. So just a little bit of background there for you as to the direction of where the channel's going, and where there might be some delays as far as the content that interests you. So for those that aren't aware, I am Australian, and I'm living here in Western Australia, Perth, Western Australia, no less. And it has been crazy hot here the last week. Tomorrow it's going to be about 43 degrees, I think. So it's going to be stinking hot again. In Victoria, of course, you've got floods, wind and bushfires all on the way one day. Queensland, which is where my children and grandchildren are living, they're recovering from flooding over there as well. But of course, it's a great big world. So, I'd love to know where you're from and what's happening in your neck of the woods and what's happening for you. Please do leave a comment below and let us know where you're living, actually. Because if I can't physically travel, I love to learn more about other people's cultures. The point of me putting this image up here, just in case you're interested, this is what we call red-tailed black cockatoos, which are an endangered species here in WA, well, here in Australia actually, but they are native to Western Australia, which is what I mean when I say WA. and I feel very privileged and blessed. I have them camped outside the front of where I live, and when I'm not working on content or doing stuff indoors, I'll quite often sit on my front, we call it a porch, veranda, whatever. I'll sit out there and I'll listen to these noisy birds. They only come a couple of times a year, but you'll see the one on the left has got a couple of stripes there, and it's more sort of flame coloured. That's the female. The one that's got the really red tail feathers, he's the boy. And I think they mate for life, actually, but certainly they're noisy and they make a huge mess with the trees. But whenever they turn up, I consider it to be an absolute blessing. They may be wildly messy, but they're pure pleasure. So, of course, we're still a little way from finishing up with the universal laws. That's going to happen in about mid-March. And at that point in time, I'm going to replace it with some content. And I'm still trying to decide whether or not I'll have a daily content happening for that to replace it. I'm thinking at this stage, possibly not, because I'm concerned a little bit that for the subscribers, if you've clicked get notified, it might mean that you're getting notified twice a day, because I prefer to focus my energy going forward on the evening content. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I'll do my best to accommodate your needs, but in a sensitive way. In the meantime, I'm going to keep the Friday content focused on clinical for just a little bit longer. I'll talk about that in a moment, but this is basically, as I say, to set those foundations and to ensure the channel remains compliant with YouTube requirements. And then after that, you will see more content going up that is of a spiritual and energetic nature. And I'm fairly confident and comfortable that you actually will really like the stuff that is coming. So just hang in there, buttercups. The angel content, of course, will be more regular as time goes by. I've got some, I'll speak to that directly in one of the upcoming slides. With so many new subscribers, you may not be aware that I battle with technology on a regular basis, and this is largely due to very slow internet speeds, and this is what's impacting on me being able to deliver lives. It definitely is a really big pain in the backside, and it's down to a lack of infrastructure. Now, I am aware, and I've told people in the past through the channel and through yarning, that they were going to upgrade the lines, and I haven't heard any different as far as whether or not they'll be doing it. I believe they are, but I'm aware that they've run into a really big problem. And of course, it actually relates to those lovely cockatoos, because where they hang out is in this great big tree, as I said, which is out the front of my place. And it's probably about 150 years old. And the point being is that it's a food source for the cockatoos. And they're, as I said, an endangered species. So what they're going to have to do is navigate how to get the lines around these trees without disturbing them and unsettling it, so that they don't impact negatively, shall we say, on the environment. So at this point in time, yep, it's an ongoing issue. So when I was referring to the Friday content, this is the content that I'm currently speaking about. And you will have seen a video go up on this Friday, that talks about unhelpful thinking styles. And my apologies that it went up late, but that was actually directly related to the technology issues that we've been experiencing. But anyway, point being, I know that for many people, they're going to look at that and think, oh, it's so boring. I know what to do. I know all about positive thinking and that kind of stuff. But I'd just like to say to you, you think you know, but until you look, you don't really know. Now, I can say personally, based on my experience of having worked with energy for about 15 years before I started my studies, that I thought I was switched on. Okay. Just so that I used to, when I would do readings for myself and my cards, I'd get this ongoing message that was balance, balance, balance. And I used to think, yeah, no, I've got it. That's all right. I've got it. I know what I'm doing. But I didn't, because you don't know what you don't know. So it wasn't until I attended university and started studying subjects like psychology and how the mind functions and all the rest of it, that I actually realised I had what is called politely unhelpful thinking styles. Not a lot of them, and they certainly were not as bad as what I found when I was working in the psychiatric fields, when we're working with our client base and that, where there's some really overt or obvious problems for people based on their thinking. But this was the area that I could have improved on had I known the questions to ask, or had I had some form of direction in where I might visit to get greater balance in my life. So where I'm going with this is I'm trying to encourage you to not rule this out simply because you think it looks really boring, okay? The one that I have loaded on Friday is one that gives you an introduction to it, and I am well aware that when I load these videos, they're just so long. But, the bottom line is the information I'm giving to you is stuff that I probably did over, say, 6 units or whatever. So I'm kind of condensing 12 hours worth of study down sometimes into a 40-minute video, which just doesn't do it justice, which is another reason why I encourage you to do your own research on some of the terms or themes that I put up on the videos. So anyway, where I'm going with this is my first focus with doing the self-help was actually to look at emotional stuff, identifying emotions, emotional regulation, raising your own awareness of your emotional state, which has that spin-off effect of raising your personal awareness and self-awareness. I did all of that first because, of course, that's actually associated. I'm mindful about the use of a word here on YouTube because I've seen it get censored so much. But based on my training, we actually are because I've done interventions. So if you don't know what I'm talking about the S word, okay? It's the end of the line S word where it's all over Red Rover for anybody that's got a body. So, of course, in my training, we have been taught that, we need to use this word as part of confronting and challenging people's thoughts when they're in that space. But either way, where I'm going with this is I did the emotional content first because it felt important to me to deliver as part of my training in this intervention. I can't even say the word interventionary content for people that might be feeling that way. And so now that I've completed that component, now I'm looking at, when I say looking at, I'm going to deliver you content on the unhelpful thinking styles. And from there, I do have plans of where to go that's more mainstream on a Friday. But anyway, that's all coming up. And once again, because we've got so many newbies, I'm going to put a little bit more time onto this particular slide and remind people. I developed this tool, the Power Tool for Chakras, and I think it was probably about 2006 or 2007. I developed it for myself. And what I did, because I was at a very stuck stage in my life, I'd moved house, I'd had a relationship ending. Obviously, moving house meant relocation for me. I'd moved to a different town. I was unemployed. I was at a complete stonewall in my life. And I realized that I needed to do something very quickly to change my energy so that I could actually get myself out of it and start making some very progressive changes. And this is because when we've hit rock bottom, our auric vibration is actually very low. And what we end up doing is we draw to us similar vibration, or low vibration towards us, which means obviously more of the same. So if you're trying to break out of a sticky situation, you've got to really work hard on your energy to raise it up as quickly as you can so that you can bring to yourself higher vibration opportunities. So anyway, where I'm going with this, in acknowledgement of that, what I did was I put everything together into one power tool for myself. And back in the day, it was a PowerPoint presentation. And with it, I incorporated what I understood about the healing power of sound, toning of the chakras, the healing power of color, and, because color has got healing properties too. What else did I do? Affirmations, power of the spoken word. And I can't remember what else it was, but, go back and take a look at it if you like. But either way, where I'm going with this is, because I was teaching a lot of people for a number of years, I actually shared this tool with people just through my emails or on Facebook when they had mentioned that they were really blocked. And the feedback was always very, very positive about the changes that people were able to include. And in some places where English was a second language, there was one lady, I can't remember, she was in Yugoslavia somewhere, one of the countries that was previously Yugoslavia. And she converted it for her grandmother, who was struggling to recover from the wars, one of the wars or whatever. But anyway, the feedback, even from her grandmother, was very, very positive. So I continue to recommend this, especially if people need some really fast paced development. And I recommend that you do it as many times a day as you can to get this energy happening and to hold faith through the process. So basically, where numerology is concerned, I've put up a lot of content for you so far, which you will have seen. It's basically just about a workshop, really. Of course, it's not complete. There's more to numerology than the content that I've put up. We're looking at numbers on the birth chart over the next videos. And from there, I will look at what they call the pyramids, which show you peaks through the life. And then I'll actually explain to you how you can calculate what your karmic path is for this lifetime. That'll be the final thing that I touch upon. And you'll need to know the time of your birth when we get to that stage. But anyway, the numbers on the birth chart, they are very, very revealing about the individual traits of the person. And I can honestly say, as you look at these charts, you're going to understand why we have this culture at the moment and what's going on with this. I think in the past we would call it a generation gap, the difference between the thinking of our millennials compared to the generations before them. And it's actually, once you start looking at and understanding the birth charts, then you go like, oh, that makes sense. But I can honestly say that even though I knew numerology, I could never have predicted that we would end up getting to this space of what we call that cancellation culture and that kind of stuff. I perceived that things would be somewhat different with the millennials than what it actually is at the moment. But remember, we're still in the early days of the 21st century, and it's going to get more interesting as time goes by from a numerology perspective. I actually envisage we're going to see some real change probably start happening, and I would say in a positive way, perhaps over the next 10 years. I think we're probably at the start of it now, actually. Either way, I do encourage you to get yourself involved with the numerology, because it really does explain so much about, even if all you do is your one, it's going to explain to you so much about what's happening in your life, what has happened in your life, and what you can work on as part of striving for your own personal excellence. And it will also help you for parents. It helps you to understand the challenges that your children encounter through their life. So once again, this information is primarily for the new subscribers and a little bit of background on the universal laws, because I've got to admit, I definitely am not a huge fan of them. I just put the content up because I believe some people are interested. Anyway, the background is that I found them years ago. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, and I wrote them all down, and I can't remember where I got them from, but I do remember that I reflected on them. And as is the process for me, when I'm looking at information that I don't necessarily understand at a glance, I will then meditate on it, reflect on it, and try and work out what the words are trying to say. And that could mean going and looking at the dictionary meaning and stuff like that. So then I tend to write stuff down in my own words so that I've got a more simple context about it, because I think it's easier to understand when we do break it down like this. Anyway, certainly for me. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, all these years ago, after going through this activity, I was also going through a phase of my life where I was experimenting with what's called auto writing and channeling. And I wasn't even sure that I was doing it properly. It was in the first years of me attempting to do it. And I've got to be honest, when I look back at them now, in this current format, I'm either not convinced that I wasn't deluded with some of them, or that, my memory doesn't serve me well going back that far, what I wonder is that I looked at some of them and I decided that, I actually couldn't translate them because there's some of them to this day that don't make any sense to me. Anyway, where I'm going with this is I became aware that my document that I had created was published online as author unknown. And I recognized it as my own work because it was complete with typos and stuff like that. And the problem is that there was I would say, a person that was probably a bit unscrupulous actually, had suggested that I publish this stuff. And even though I said, well, look, I can't or whatever, he said, no, publish it. He said, send me a draft of it. So I did. I sent him a draft of it. And before I knew it, it was actually published. It had my name on it and it was for sale on a digital bookstore. So, of course, I was quite ropeable about it. And I contacted him. And let's just say there was a lot of toing and froing, and the fire in me came out, and he agreed to take my name off the document. But the document is still out there in some places. So what I decided to do in the first instance was to look at these laws in the current state or in the state that it had been published as my document, and to unpack it. And just in a way, it's an exercise to see, have I changed since the original thought? Because it was a long time ago. What do I think of these laws now when I read them? And does it trigger anything for consideration and reflection upon, within me? But the point is too that I realise if we were in a group setting, we'd be able to have a chat about these kind of laws and say, well, what do you think? What do you make of that? And given that we're not able to do that, I would just encourage you to take a look at the laws if that's what you're into. Give consideration maybe if you think that the points I make are interesting, and use them for consideration and reflection yourself. See what you feel about them and what you think about them, and certainly write a comment up if you think, that one sounds like a load of waffle. Write that. I'm not going to be offended by it. Each to their own. And this is why I've started putting this quote by Krishnamurti on there saying, I say, don't follow anybody, including me. I love this. It speaks to my soul. I'm actually going to read it. Let us talk things over together rather than accept what another says blindly or rationally and follow it. After all, we have had gurus, saviors, teachers and leaders all over the world, and we are where we are after all these centuries. So what is important is to understand yourself, not to try to understand somebody who tells you what you are. And I would say they're wise words. Carry them with you, because I'm going to carry them with me. So in regard to the angel magic content, that is definitely coming up. I'm currently working on the ones for Archangel Gabriel. I want to do the archangels before I go into giving you the technique and strategy to connect with your guardian angel yourself. That'll be a video that's coming up in the near future, and that's about personalizing your connection with your guardian, which of course is something we all aspire to do. Now, I had hoped that I would have Gabriel ready by Saturday to load. Anyway, that's not the case. So with a bit of luck, he'll be up by Tuesday or Wednesday so that you can actually access that content. And then from there, I've just got to do Archangel Raphael and Archangel Zadkiel, and then it'll be the guardian angel. Okay, so stay tuned. You'll get a notification when it comes out if you click that notification button. So when it comes to Archangel Jophiel, as you're aware, this video was loaded, I think, 2 weeks ago now, and certainly it's proven to be very popular by all accounts with the shorts. But what I can see by checking the analytics is there's not a lot of people that are actually looking at the longer video for the technique and strategy. And I would recommend, if this is the kind of stuff that you're trying to do, if you're trying to manifest, that you at least watch the video for Archangel Jophiel, the full one, to be able to harness the power, and also try looking at the Angel of Blessings, Amarashaya, because of course she's involved in the manifestation process as well. And of course, I'm always doing the art and the quotes and trying to put something together for you, so that you can enjoy it and just have something to uplift your mood during the week. Now, just a reminder, with the quotes, I choose to use the AI for the voiceover for the quotes, simply because I think you must get sick to death of hearing the sound of my voice. And also because it's just a different way of doing things. I don't know, it's just a little bit of fun. It's just something I like to do. So if you don't like the AI voice on the quotes, can you let me know? And I'll have to find something else. Or maybe you want me to change the voice. Let me know. I'll sort it out. So, with that, my friends, if you stuck through to this slide, I just want to say thank you so much for being part of my journey. Thank you for being a subscriber. I really hope that we get to connect with each other more over the course of this channel and that we have an opportunity to build a community. But for now, I'm going to turn around and say thank you. Have a wonderful day, wonderful week. Feel free to comment, make your comments. I will respond. Okay, take care. Be blessed. Bye bye for now.